Pardon? Zoran.
Okay.
So Zoran Ilievski, our friend from Skopje, the same university as Cyril and Methodius, same department. Yes.
Thank you. First, I really would like to thank you, Dimitris, for the invitation, and for David Phillips for helping us make this come true. When we were speaking with Dimitris and David before, we think this is the first panel of this kind ever done.
Yes. In Thessaloniki.
I'm for sure Athens would never have it before Thessaloniki. So I think we're making history here, and I want to start with several positive.
And John, if I may interrupt you just for a sec, and I want to say this before, recognize some of the people in the audience, so we might be not many, but the quality is very high. We have Mr. Loufakis, the head of the Northern Greece Exporters Association, I want to recognize. Vermund, an old friend from the University of Thessaloniki, professor, Norwegian, who made the wrong choice to come to Greece and leave the Greek dream. Sotiris Servos, you know, of course, from the University of Greece. Philios Tangos, an old schoolmate of mine, much older, who is the head of the local municipal television and radio station, TV 100 and FM 100, always very supportive of our events. And then Yannis Armakolas, you know him very well. Nikos Zacharis and his colleague Pavlos from City College, CERC, in Salonika, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of people. We have a few journalists, nobody's perfect, and so continue.
Absolutely, thank you, and I really feel welcomed and really pleasant. This is third or fourth of our meetings that we try to, in a way, to make these confidence-building measures work between both countries on a level which really is working well anyway, I would say. But that's why I want to start with a few numbers about the exchange between Macedonia and Greece. So, let's say 2014, $894 million. Now it's a little less, 665.
The total trade. That's
The third Greek investments are the third in the overall, when you collect the overall investments since the independence. 1 million tourists. Last year, 1.1 million touristic visits from Republic of Macedonia to Greece, from a country of 2 million. So, 400 companies working, 400 Greek companies working in Macedonia, a lot of exchange and a lot of business coming both ways, especially a lot of tourism, shopping, etc. Plus Greeks coming to the other side of the border for services, which are much cheaper. Another indicator would be that no one of these people, huge 1,100,000 people, have never had any problems, neither security or business related, or to feel threatened. So in a way, I would argue that the problems, political problems between both countries, are a reminiscence of the Cold War, a reminiscence of the days when Yugoslavia was falling apart and unclear vision of the future was taking place. There are testimonies from then Minister Samaras, who was talking to Slobodan Milosevic about different plans, division of countries, changing of borders, etc., etc. Very turbulent, very difficult years, which, thank God, have passed, and we want never to return. And that is why I want to emphasize that although we have different pasts, I think we have a same future. And in that light, I would like to present the data about the refugees, and later maybe I'll get more questions about the name issue or whatever interests the public. Let me give you some data. 750,000 migrants and refugees have passed through the last 13 months, coming from Greece, traveling northwards, 750,000. There's a lot of children unaccompanied by parents. There was previously to the changing of the laws in Macedonia, in which you have regulated the way that people move in 72 hours. There were smugglers networks, so this number is larger. We have, since the thorough registration, the Macedonian authorities forbid 20,000 crossings, in which 13,000 illegal crossings were attempted after the putting of the border in place, of the fence on a part of the border in place. We have returned back 16,000 economic migrants. There were almost 9,000 false documents discovered. So it's an enormous task, which is very difficult because people travel with false documents, people give false declarations of their identity. A lot of migrants join the corridor, which is supposed to be used by refugees. Until August last year, the ratio was 60% refugees, 40% migrants. Now it's vice versa. So a lot of people are using this corridor to reach to their final destination. None of our countries is their final destination. They want to travel to the north. Now I'm sure you very well follow the situation, and it's a dramatic situation in which I am a young person, I consider myself, but I have not seen such a serious foreign policy, or maybe it's even internal policy divide within the European Union, which is so clearly shown and out there in the public. I mean, it's not behind closed doors anymore. So in one sense, the invitation to come to Germany, that refugees are welcomed, and the countermeasures of the Visegrad Four, who are even blocking the quota system. So Chancellor Merkel just issued a statement. There's a summit in Brussels taking place right now. It will last for 2 days, and she said that they will decide on whether they continue trying to make the deal with Turkey work, or they will abandon this and start hermetically closing borders. I don't know how this would look like, to tell you the truth. How would you hermetically close borders? There was another statement by the Austrian Chancellor today. He said, we want to join in the efforts by the Visegrad Four, but we think they're cynical. So in a way, we want this scenario for a short term, but we think that in spring there will be 100,000 people on the Greek-Macedonian borders protesting with hunger. And then we will not know what to do. And then the corridor would be closed. Macedonia does not want the corridor closed, the legal corridor closed, the corridor 10, because 70% of the trade of Macedonia is done through this corridor. 60% of Macedonia's import is from this port of Thessaloniki. So there is absolutely no, neither economic nor political reason why Macedonia would wish for such a scenario. It's interesting, and I was maybe to send it to the public just as a reminder. Many of us forget. 22 years ago, and very close to these days, was the unilateral declaration of Greece to close the border towards Macedonia and to impose an economic embargo.
February 94.
February 94. 22 years later, Macedonia is in a situation to close the border towards Greece. I hope this does not happen. These cycles are very, very dangerous, and they do not bring anything good. The border was closed at that time for 18 months, and Macedonia suffered billions of euros damage. The economy crumbled. I remember I was a small kid, but we didn't have medicine, petrol, we didn't have products in the country. It was really, really tough times. And they were overcome with the help of the good American again. A good American who David knew very well, I think, Richard Holbrooke, and the interim accord. So with the interim accord, this blockade stopped, and then situation developed as we all know. So what are the exit strategies? The receiving countries would have to say this. Austria will reach its quota of, if I'm not mistaken, 37,500 asylum seekers for this year in less than 4 weeks, with this rate of refugees coming. Then it will not receive anymore. Austria is enforcing its border towards Slovenia. Hungary built its own borders, fences, not borders, but fences on the borders. Between both countries, there is a certain point, checkpoint 59, in which every day we have between 1,000 and 3,000 these days, but when it comes warmer, for example, August last year, we had 12,000 in one day. So this is an illegal crossing in a way, but it's a crossing which both countries administer in order for the people to continue their route and leave the regular inter-country border open for other passengers. What will happen if this is blocked by protests? So we suggested several measures to help to speed up the readmission from countries which are mostly affected, like Greece and Slovenia, but also to make, in a way, a controlled corridor of people moving. They check in at one place, they are issued a single document which is valid for all countries, and they disembark at their final destination. Not to be checked hundreds of times, to be put in computers, to be maybe victims of people offering them quicker passage for a certain amount of money, people losing their property or their lives. So to ease up this access to their final destination. But also, we have to have in mind that intelligence agencies around the region estimate that 1,000 people from the Balkans have gone to the war zones in the Middle East, Syria mostly, in the last years. We have some estimates about Macedonia that are not encouraging. That people are returning and that they are radicalizing others, and that we need counter-radicalization measures to prevent scenarios like we've seen in the West. So and we've seen this in the past, this was proven that terrorists can use these corridors to reach their destinations, but also they can intoxicate with their ideologies people on the route. And if they are blocked in a certain place, this would be even worse. Now, so there is a security aspect in this as well.
You built 2 lines of fences, if I'm not mistaken, so far. What's the reason? What is the end to that? What is the thinking behind?
The thinking behind is that there were many thousands and thousands of illegal crossings. So these fences are only intended to maneuver the people towards the single checkpoint channel in which there are officers, police officers from 6 or 7 foreign countries now as well. So there's Macedonian police and army and officers and UNHCR, many NGOs, people helping, giving food, medical assistance, etc., but also registering them. So the only aim is to register everyone, and we achieved 100% registration now. In previous times, 12,000 people came in one day. You cannot physically register everyone. So you would have to just let some people pass, and that's it. And some were registered, some were not. Now everyone is registered, and they're in an organized fashion transported to north. If somebody declares the wish to stay in Macedonia, they would have allowed a procedure for asylum in 72 hours. Of course, people do not want to stay; they want to move fast towards the north. So the situation is as described. It is absolutely clear that no one holds the solution in Brussels. There will be quite a lot of clashes. The President of the Commission, Juncker, took the side of a holistic European approach, which would mean stronger controls on the Greek-Turkish border, functioning of these hotspots, dealing with Turkey with the agreement from last year. But at the end, I'm not sure that this has a realistic chance of succeeding, especially because even within the European Union, you do not have respect for the quota system that was imposed by the countries which were outvoted or are not interested in taking it, but they were obliged. And even if they were interested in keeping these people there, you cannot stop people to move when they're inside the Schengen system. How can you keep refugees by force in a certain country where they do not want to stay? So it's absolutely a tectonic change in Europe taking place, and I think you're right that by the end of 2016 there will be something completely unrecognizable from now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zoran. And now